What is up, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach and Dawson, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. Tonight, we will be recapping the Ravens' 27-25 loss to the Buffalo Bills in the Divisional Round. I'll go ahead and kick it to Zach first for your initial thoughts.
Initial is just disappointment, right? It's hard to put into words, really, the effort and watching the effort of that second half. You watch the first half, it's like this is a team that just doesn't look like themselves. They're not playing right. It's the same formula, right? And that second half, they genuinely came out and it was a different story. They get into that game, the defense starts shutting them down. It was something special. It looked like something special a few times. And I think with constant mistakes, you just can't win a football game. And this was a key indicator of that. The Bills are a super talented team. They were able to just, those turnovers were the decider, right? I mean, the drop ball in the end, sure, that's about as heartbreaking as it gets. But yeah, I'm with some of these comments. I'm with you guys. Like we really had, every swing up until the last 2 minutes. We really gave it our all up into the very end. And I don't know, it's a different feeling this time than some others, but the same disappointment.
Yeah, I think Zach kind of nailed it on the head right there. It's definitely disappointing. It sucks because you start to question if this team could actually eventually get to a Super Bowl, appearance under Lamar Jackson. And every year it just feels like, this is the year. And we seem to fall short every year and in disappointing fashion. And this is very similar to last year's defeat against the Chiefs, but also very different. Kind of like Zach said, it's one of those games where, you shoot yourselves in the foot early and then you kind of rally back and find some momentum and then you fall just short at the very end. And it sucks, man. There's no way to look over it. It is what it is. And you kind of just got to look towards the next year, but definitely a heartbreaker again, for Baltimore to end a very historical, great season.
Yeah, and I feel like 2021 and 2022, even though we were in the playoffs, it was with Huntley, sort of took us away from this feeling. It's now 2 years in a row of heartbreak in the playoffs. Multiple teams go through this every year. I mean, the Bills, for example, had lost in the divisional round 3 times in a row. It's just one team wins the Super Bowl. It sucks, really sucks that Ravens couldn't pull it out in this one. And, first thing I'll mention, we have talked about it since last season. The turnover battle is what determines playoff games. And you heard Romo say it. We said it during the week. The Ravens roster is better than the Bills roster. And it kind of shows that with the Ravens having 3 turnovers, Bills having none, and the Ravens still losing, at the end of the game. Can't really say last play because still over a minute left, but it's crazy. If the Ravens have 2 turnovers instead of 3, it's at least, coming down to the end with probably a Ravens lead, with the Bills on the field. But, man, just first half, Ravens got that touchdown to start and just couldn't really do anything from there. Got the field goal. Defense did not look good in the first half. Defense showed up in the second half. I don't know. I feel like there's so much to talk about. I don't really know what to get into first. I mean, Lamar, obviously, the first interception did not matter. Bills punt right after. No change in the game at all. The fumble is probably a 10-point swing, in my opinion. Probably going to get a field goal there. Von Miller returns it far down. Bills get a touchdown. But, in playoff games and in any game, when you're at least a good team, I think first half turnovers are so much more easy to overcome. Second half turnover with how much was left in this game here? 6:41 left in a game where both teams are, having long drives. It's hard to overcome. They still did overcome it. Just tough, man. Rough game from Mark Andrews. Rough first half from Lamar, but amazing second half from Lamar is what I would say as well.
It's just like, of course, this game comes down to, one of our fan favorite Ravens just simply catching a 2-point conversion, right? And he drops it. Like, it's just so heartbreaking. And it's literally the same story, just a different year. I don't get how it happens year after year. I mean, I think we could all, going into this game, we didn't expect it, of course, but we all kind of knew in the back of our minds that if the Ravens do lose this game, it will be due to them shooting themselves in the foot. They're meaning, you're losing the turnover battle and you probably have an interception or some fumbles, and that's exactly what happened. They weren't penalized too much in this game. My camera's glitching out. That's nice. They didn't, have a ton of penalties in this game, but they still had more than you would like to admit in a playoff game. It's just, I don't even know what to say, man. It sucks. And I know we're going to get into this game more, but I don't like I can't say I don't like the play call on the 2-point conversion, but I don't like how on the majority of our 2-point attempts this year, you've essentially eliminated half the field. I mean, you're literally taking away one whole half of the field and just hoping that the one guy you're looking for is there. And he was there. Unfortunately, couldn't come up with the catch, but I don't want to hate the play call, but I definitely think that there's something there that you could have worked differently and kind of spread out the offense a little bit more that maybe would have benefited you, because you would have had more than, one option. So I don't know.
And I kind of just want to touch on really the Mark Andrews conversation, right? Dawson said it well. Fan favorite. I mean, Mark is our guy. He's homegrown. He's perennial Pro Bowl guy. Talk about the beginning of the year compared to now, right? We were saying, is there a trade package for him available by week 5, week 6? He just wasn't getting the ball. If he was getting targeted, he was dropping it. By the end of the year, he had what? Double-digit touchdowns? I mean, whether we like it or not, Harbaugh is completely right in that statement that we are not here without Mark Andrews. It's just facts. The facts that Mark Andrews is on the field with Isaiah Likely creates opportunities for both of them. We can say that Likely is more talented. I personally believe he is a little more talented. I think we could all, nod our head with that. But the fact that you have a Pro Bowl tight end along with a guy as good as Likely, it makes them both special in their own way. And, going back to week 4, Mark Andrews has that gimme first down and he drops it. And it's kind of just weird that it rears its ugly head again tonight, right? You have that fumble in the drop. The fumble I thought was really the final dagger, in my opinion. But to have the will to, right at a half, Harbs asked, like the crazy interviews right at a half to a losing team, you'd usually get a bad response. But he's like, no, we just need to get stops. We got to score touchdowns or we're going to win this game. That's the mentality of the team. Harbs is speaking for them. I didn't feel, amped, but you could see that the team was motivated to win the game. We should have won the game if we didn't kill ourselves with that, those final 2 things. But to go back to it, I mean, just the sadness in my heart for Andrews is really, heavy. We love the guy as a fan, and it sucks that even to make this team better, moving on from him for he's what, $11 million in cap is what I saw, saving that much. I mean, I'm not advocating for that, but it's sadly considered given the amazing year that Likely's had and really the opportunity to add on to this team when you don't have Zay Flowers and end up losing by a 2-point conversion. And even when you had all those turnovers, you show that you were in this fight every second of this game. And that also is, a little more uplifting to me.
I just want to clear the air real quick because obviously with a loss like this, people always tend to overreact and immediately result to ground zero. And there's a ton of people in the Instagram chat kind of overreacting to this. And I'm not going to sit here and blame them, but I'm also not going to look past it. Lamar didn't play a great game. He played good. and he set us up at the end to go win this game, or at least tie it, I should say. And you got a drive where it's a must score, and you're without your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, and he leads us all the way down the field and puts us right in prime position to take this back. And unfortunately, the 2 turnovers earlier in the game really set us up for disaster and put us back further than we could have imagined going into this game, especially against the Bills. And there's people in here saying trade Lamar, get rid of him. I literally saw a person say trade Lamar for Dak Prescott, and it's like, what are we doing here? It's like with Lamar Jackson, dude, and I'm just trying to cope. Obviously, we all are, but it's like with him at quarterback, you're always going to have a chance for the big game, no matter what. No matter what season it is, with him at quarterback, we're always going to have a shot. We're going to be right back here next year. I can almost guarantee that. And it sucks because it's like a broken record. We do this every year, it seems. And it just, we're going to have a chance. Just know that every year we're not going into a rebuild or anything. We're not going into this downward spiral as an organization where we're going to be poverty and win 7 games a season. The Ravens are still going to contend to win the division. They're going to be right back in Super Bowl contention next year. And Lamar Jackson's going to be Lamar Jackson. And we just got to hope this offseason that they can rebuild to get us back up to this point. So I know we weren't talking about that yet, but I just wanted to clear the air because I could see people are obviously immediately freaking out. We just got to know what's ahead of us.
Super chat from Sonny, Bills fan from Alaska. Great game. Lamar's amazing. He will get one before he retires. Appreciate you, Sonny. Shout out to all the Bills fans. Bills fans donated to Lamar's charity back in 2020 when he left the game with a concussion. And, I think once the playoffs sort of started, the MVP conversation just disappeared. Doesn't really matter anymore. And hopefully it just stays respectful from here on out between Bills and Ravens fan. Appreciate that, Sonny. In terms of the Mark Andrews stuff, what sucks a little bit about it is I would say it's not surprising. We've seen him struggle with drops past couple years. Like if Isaiah Likely had that fumble and the 2-point conversion drop, I would be a lot more shocked than I am now with it being Andrews. That doesn't mean he's a bad. What do you have? 10 touchdowns after having none the first month of the season. Great player. It just really sucks. He is the guy that the play was designed for on the 2-point conversion. That tells you Monken and Harbaugh trust Andrews more than anyone else on the team. I mean, that tells me they trust him more than likely to make that play. I would disagree, honestly. It could have something to do with Likely making the diving touchdown catch, sliding in this. I mean, what a play. What a play. Yeah. Lamar had a 114 passer rating today.
Wow.
I really think the interception is whatever. And I think his only bad play was the fumble. So he had one bad play. You say in the regular season, he usually has 0 bad plays. And maybe that's the difference. I mean, it probably was the difference. But you're still probably going into overtime with a Mark Andrews catch on that 2-point conversion. I just want to say, Lamar, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, it hasn't been that he's bad in the playoffs. It's that he makes a mistake early in the playoffs and isn't good after that. And we did not see that today, smiling on the sideline, smiling on the field, running to the locker room, clapping his hands. He stayed positive the whole game, and it made a difference. Ravens, I don't know how many Ravens fans thought we were going to lose on a 2-point conversion at halftime. Probably not very many. So I want to give credit to Lamar. I mean, 88-yard touchdown drive to tie the game in the clutch in the snow with no Bateman and no Zay Flowers. I mean, I think he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the league. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I don't personally, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that the Ravens are going to get in the end zone. I was thinking about what's this 2-point conversion call going to be when we're at our own 30 still. I had confidence Lamar was going to get us in the end zone. Mm-hmm. So
can we just talk about how we never can punch the ball in on a 2-point all season long? I think we're 1-5 on them, I think. And every single time we just completely cut off half the field and just rely on the one guy being there. And every single time this season, essentially, it hasn't happened. So I don't know, man. I feel the same way, Brad. That whole drive, I kind of had a feeling we were going to punch it in and knew what it was coming down to. And we were right. It came down to 2-point failing. And it's just not the way you want to see it fail, of course. Like, I would feel better about it failing if it was just like an overthrown pass or something, rather than one of our favorite guys, Mark Andrews, dropping it when it's literally in his hands and he had all the room in the world to, fall backwards and get it. So it sucks, dude. It really does. I don't really know what to say. I don't know how to process it, but it's starting to get really annoying. It's getting really annoying to have these kind of rosters to this magnitude of how good they are. I mean, for literally elite from top to bottom. And then, you fall apart, fall flat on your face in the playoffs. And it always seems to be due to, self-inflicted wounds. Like, you throw a overthrown interception, which was just airmailed, who knows what happened there. It was a miscommunication between him and Bateman. We don't know. And then the fumble, him trying to play hero ball and doesn't go down, and then fumble and they return it to the 25 and then they go down and punch it in. So it's just like, these are turnovers that, cost you the game because you let up a touchdown right after that. And there's, when you're in that hostile of an environment, your backs are already against the wall. And then granted, your identity is the run game. And then obviously if you're behind, it's not really something you can rely on and really go to as much as you would love. And it just sucks, man. You really make it a lot harder on yourself. And it's like, if you look at the box score, and look at the actual stats of this game, and if you didn't see the final score, you would probably say Baltimore's won. You'd probably say the Ravens won. And it seems to be the trend every single year. It's always the exact same situation. I believe, Brad, you had the total yardage of each teams in this game, and Baltimore outshot them there with a pretty big number. And it's unfortunate. It's one of those games that should have been a win for Baltimore, but in the end, it wasn't.
Yeah, total yards was 416 to 273.
That's insane, dude.
I love this comment here from Harry. Sorry to interrupt you, Dawson. The fact that the first half was that bad, I mean, that looked like, the recipe for a disaster as we know it. And I mean, it's incredible because to switch it up that much, the defense allowed 6 points. We scored 15 with, 2 drives that could have been better, obviously. But the feel of the game really felt. It swapped, really, feelings. And the motivation on our side became, desperate almost. It became everything was starting to get put out there. All the effort, all of it was just too late. That interception was ridiculous. The first half interception, sorry, I'm talking about. You start the game, going touchdown for touchdown. You think it's going to be an all-time classic. And then that interception, I know all of us watching that have seen the last 5 years had a gut punch. It was, wait, is this actually going to happen? Is this really going to turn out to be this crumbling apart game? And in the end, it was. I'm looking for, someone to blame, right? You can point your finger at Mark Andrews. You can point your finger at, I don't know, I guess Harbaugh or the offense for not really getting going or really communicating well with, 2 turnovers in the first half. I think that really the team is as, well prepared for this run as possible. Like Dawson mentioned, you have an elite roster front to back. What is the difference? Like what's the next step? You have a most likely three-time MVP quarterback. He didn't have his wide receiver 1. You can say that. But where's the improvement at? You almost had a 2,000-yard rushing running back. I mean, 2 fantastic tight ends. And even in the end, that last drive, you can go all the way down. Lamar Jackson doesn't have his top 2 wide receivers for most of it. Bateman gets injured right off the rip of it. All the way down, and it still comes down to the drop. And with the mentality that this team has, year in and year out, play like a Raven, the mentality for this team is so different, right? It's just, I'm having a hard time processing Harbaugh's fault, Mark Andrews' fault. I don't know. I'm having a difficult time figuring out beating ourselves rather than what can we do to make us better next year. Like, what's the improvement?
It's a good point. It's a good point, Zach, because it's exactly right. What's the missing piece? What is the piece that the Ravens can bring in or change to make this team get pushed over the hump and actually appear in a Super Bowl? Because last year, obviously, the run game was a concern. You didn't have that top tier running back. And this year, you did, and you still fall flat on your face. So, and then you had a really good defense who was probably, I would say, easily top 5 to end the season. So you were going into this game with a top 5 defense. You have obviously a top 3 quarterback, top 3 running back, pretty decent O-line. You got a good coach for what it's worth, and it just the same stuff happens year after year.
And I want to add something too, because I totally agree with you, Dawson. I'm saying if you factor all this game in, and really the incredible season that it was, how can I have a hard time seeing people whenever they blame Harbaugh or the coaches really in general for this game. It's puzzling because I want to agree. I want to agree and say, okay, ship him out. Let's get an offensive-minded guy. I know that's been, most people's dreams. Let's get that in there and keep chugging. Maybe next year we have, beautiful offense and it's flawless everywhere. But this was close to perfection, right? And I think with the mentality and attitude that Harbaugh brings, I'm not sure if next year, let's say, they do fire Harbaugh and they do get a rookie first-year head coach. If you get into that same situation where you're down 21-10, is that really going to happen where that rookie head coach is that good to lead you to a win? Is that what we're expecting of a first-year head coach in a first year with his team? That's pretty incredible how Harbaugh was able to shape his team into a competitive, almost winning team. If that Mark Andrews fumble doesn't happen, we go down and we score a touchdown. It's just, it's hard to describe. It's hard to describe, and it's heartbreaking. That's the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
it is. Real quick, I'll pose a question. Do you guys think that if Zay Flowers played in this game that we would have a better chance, and do you think we would have won?
I think the Ravens would have won.
You do?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I just think when you lose on a 2-point conversion and you're missing your Pro Bowl receiver, I feel like you probably just would have won with him. Shout out to Mr. Tech for 2 donations. Always Ravens versus Ravens. Exactly. Talk about that. We mentioned it before the games. We mentioned it after the games. The Ravens did not punt in the second half. They didn't punt all game. There was not a single punt. Ravens drives today. Touchdown, turnover, field goal, touchdown, turnover, touchdown.
My God, dude. That's so awful. I don't understand how it's such a pattern that just continues. I don't get it. I'm being serious when I say this. I would rather just get outplayed tonight and lose to Buffalo because they're just the better team. I would rather us just get outgained in yardage. They just, punch us in the mouth and they win a clean, mistake-free game. But the fact that, we outgained them and all this stuff and outplayed them, but since we can't keep the football in our hands, we lose. That's just the most awful way for such a good season to just get ripped out of your hands.
Yeah. I don't know. There's probably going to be talk about Derrick Henry only having 16 carries. But like I said, Ravens didn't punt today. The offense's production was not the issue. It was literally just turnovers. I think I love how Justice Hill played today.
Mm-hmm.
He had 6 carries for 50 yards. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on the defense? I felt like definitely came out a little slow and didn't look great in that first half. Gave up 3 touchdowns on 4 drives, but gave up 2 field goals in the second half, feel like defense played. I feel like you. I mean, I had the Ravens winning 31-29. So basically, Bills did about what I thought on offense, and Ravens scored one less touchdown than I thought. And you have that Andrews fumble. Probably we're going to score a touchdown on that drive. Zach, I know you're talking about Harbaugh a little bit. I think every playoff loss we've had recently, there is blame to go on Harbaugh. Not in this one at all, in my opinion. I think I was very impressed by Harbaugh with the second half of the season. Benching Marcus Williams, cutting Eddie Jackson, all that stuff. He's the one that makes the decisions, even though Zach Orr is the defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Harbaugh did a single thing wrong today. If hindsight is 2020, the first 2-point conversion that the Ravens go for, in my mind, it was 50-50. Do you kick this? Do you go for it? You kick. I mean, third quarter, you kick it, you're down by 1. Theoretically, if they kick it both times, it's tied at the end. Maybe the Ravens go for 2 to try to win it at the end anyway, and the same play happens. So who knows? I would give absolutely zero blame to Harbaugh in this game.
I agree. There wasn't like a logical, specific situation that you can put immediate blame on the head coach like there was like recent years. Of course, you get the Chiefs game last year and the years prior. Those kind of all fell on the head coach for lack of preparation and abandoning your identity and just questionable challenge calls and just weird, undisciplined football, which obviously all falls on the head coach. But this year, I mean, it's the turnovers, man. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. If the Ravens don't turn the ball over in this game, they win. And I would say they probably win decently comfortable. Like it's all it is. There's not much more to it. There's no reason to dive into it and act like there is. It's just mistake football. That's all it is. And I agree, though. The defense I was going to answer that question too, but I kind of went over it. The defense in the first half was very questionable, but all things considered in the second half came out and finished the game pretty well, considering what they were going up against. And they played a pretty good game, and they did their job in the second half and set the Ravens offense up to go get back in this game. And they did what they could. So, that's all it is.
Dawson, you're saying there's a lot of Lamar hate on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And a few comments in here. This one. He was the best quarterback in the NFL this season. And I would say, with 2 turnovers today, 1 that really actually mattered. He played so well besides that. And, I mean, if you take out the Andrews fumble, it's like a perfectly executed second half from Lamar, from the offense as a whole. I definitely completely disagree. I mean, what are we doing? Like,
yeah,
what
it's
he
just
had what?
But like, I don't understand how you can see that last drive that Lamar, led this offense downfield to set us up to go for the game-tying 2-point without his wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. And obviously Derrick Henry wasn't on the field because why would he be? And he let us down, starting on like the 15 or 20 yard line.
12.
Yeah, like it was the 12-yard line. And this dude drives us right down the field and puts us in prime position to go tie this game. So it's like, how can you remotely blame him? And yeah, like I said, I will put the turnovers on him 100%. You can't do those. That can't happen in a playoff game. But at the end of the day, he did what he needed to do at the end of the game to set us up to be back in this. And unfortunately, the end cause of why we didn't win this game, or at least, send it to OT, is not on Lamar. It's unfortunately on Mark Andrews. And I hate to blame one person, but it is, it is. It unfortunately is.
How many quarterbacks are getting the ball at their own 12, down their top 2 receivers in the snow, executing let's just call it a touchdown and a 2-point conversion game-winning drive? Mahomes. I don't think Burrow's doing that without Chase and Higgins.
I would probably agree.
I mean, maybe Allen does that without what? Shakir and Coleman? Who's even on the field after that?
Yeah. Who was on the drive? Like, who was on the field during that drive? Henry was not there, obviously. Bate, Flowers weren't there,
It was
obviously.
Anthony Miller, Tylan Wallace, who made a good play. It was Anthony Miller, Tylan Wallace, Likely, and Andrews, and I think Aguilar.
Yeah, Tylan Wallace had a good play.
Yeah, it was a good play.
Just like, dude, like all things stacked against him, and we still were right there.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's hard to see. It's definitely hard to see the light in this. It's hard to see what could have been better because it's like we had everything you needed. The last 2 years, but especially this year. Like this year, really, really felt like it was a lot more than last year, I would say, and just ripped out of our hands in a game that realistically, you would think the Ravens won based off if you're looking what transpired in the game outside of the show.
Yeah.
These people on Instagram are killing me.
What are they saying?
The overreactions are nuts. It's just crazy. These people are freaking out, which I get. I completely understand. But we got to come to our senses a little bit. Ravens flock. Like Lamar's still our quarterback for the foreseeable future. He's the guy that's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. Mark Andrews is still our guy. Like it sucks, but we're not. These guys aren't going anywhere. These guys are not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think that really can you hear me? Sorry, no.
Yeah, you're good.
Like most comments, would be pretty negative right now towards Lamar, just in the fact of his playoff performance in general. I think that since this has started with Lamar, the fact that it had been over his playoff appearances a constant growth, even if it ends in heartbreak, since the very beginning of being smacked in the mouth in 2019, and it was the most depressing thing ever, every year where he's made the playoffs, it's felt like there's been growth. You get to the AFC Championship last year, so by that math, you think, oh, they're probably going to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, the hopes were there. I think someone had a comment where they said, how many times can a top 5 roster be constructed? That's a great freaking question. You had it last year, and you have it this year. Eventually, you have it this year. I mean,
the Ravens have no free agents.
Yeah, that's a good thing too, right? I was waiting for that.
I would say
usually,
one.
Yeah. Schefter usually tweets out a list of
it's like Ronnie
free
Stanley.
agents.
Yeah.
You're really not gonna see one, and if you do see one, it's not gonna be a long list, and that's good to see. You're gonna have to pay Ronnie if you want to keep him, but there's other moves where I talked about the Mark Andrews saving cap. I'm not advocating for that, as I said, but there's a few comments I think from someone commented. I'm so sorry to forget your name, but I think it was Charles actually. Charles said that, what do we do from here? You obviously don't think about it right now, right? It's not like EDC is walking back into his office making calls. Oh, watching film real quick. I mean, sadly, you have the whole offseason, right? And I think that another gut punch, ugly loss like this on someone as talented and as special as Lamar Jackson is only creates a greater human being, a greater player in the end. And I think that we've learned that over every single time that he's got to the postseason. And this one was, a hiccup. Even with it being a hiccup, you had a chance in the end. And all you can do is hope that he continues to get better, because he has every single season, and hope that the roster is again constructed to perfection as well as possible. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the future still. Right before we went live, we were like, is Lamar going to win a Super Bowl? Is he actually going to? Is he going to really, go through on that promise he made on draft night? And I don't think there's one of us that is really fully counting that out. So we can be pretty freaking devastated right now, but I think that there's still hope for the future, just as bad as last year was, and just as bad as this year.
No, I'm not going to get extensive in this talk, obviously, because we're going to go through the whole offseason, but right now I can tell you what the priority needs to be this offseason because it's been the direct cause of our last two playoff losses. And I would say EDC has to build within the trenches. I am so sick of seeing the Ravens get dominated in the trenches on both sides of the ball in playoff games. Tonight, dominated up front on both sides. Last year against the Chiefs, it was the same story. The offensive line cannot be getting killed in these playoff games. And same thing with the defensive line. They can't just be standing there not getting to the quarterback. So I'm not going to go any further on that, but priority number one this offseason has to be building the trenches. It has to be. It's the direct cause to both of our last playoff losses. So I just again, coping right now is how bad of this loss was, but we just have to keep the hope that next year we're going to be right back in the same situation because, like you guys said, we're not losing anybody in free agency. You know, I can't imagine anyone crucial is going to be leaving this team. Hopefully Brandon Stevens is gone because he is absolutely horrible at football. I'm so sick of that guy being on this team, with all due respect to him. He'll be leaving, and I would say the only crucial free agent would be Ronnie Stanley, who I would love to have back, and I think the Ravens can agree with that. So you're going to have essentially the same roster next year with even better guys through the draft and whoever you add in free agency. So I can't imagine a world, granted, freak phenomenon, you know, if the Ravens are going to be in the exact same situation last year, right here, you know, competing for a Super Bowl. So it's hard to see the light right now, but it is there.
Yeah. Just real quick, notable free agents. This is everyone that's notable. Ronnie Stanley, McCary, Ricard, Aguilar, Malik Harrison, Brent Urban, Chris Board, Ben Cleveland, Brandon Stevens, Tylen Wallace, or Darius Washington. That's it. I mean, there's no crazy guy. You got to, I mean, they'll bring back Stanley. I think they'll bring back Washington. Probably bring back Ricard. You don't need to pay him that much.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we'll take a discount too.
I can't believe the Ravens didn't punt.
Yeah,
and like, there's the whole conversation about, you know, we talked about this last year. You know, when you lose in the playoffs, it feels like you're not even going to get back there again. But like, you are going. Like, the Ravens will be at least in the divisional round again next season. You got to wait 12 months. I mean, I think you guys probably agree with me. After the AFC Championship last year, we probably felt like we're going to be back here again, but we have to wait 12 months to get another shot. And it's the same exact thing now. I saw a comment, you know, the conversation about like, when will the Ravens ever win a Super Bowl? Comment about the Lions, right? Like, they were what, 15-2?
Mm-hmm.
Got bounced in the first round in their first game. I've mentioned
we've been there. I said,
yeah, exactly.
Know how the Lions feel. We did it in 2019, and it happened last year too.
I've mentioned the Bills. Allen hasn't been injured. Allen's played 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And like the same thing's been happening to them. Mm-hmm. Eagles have gotten to a Super Bowl with Hurts. They haven't won one. The Chiefs are just winning every year. I mean, I don't think it's I think it's kind of crazy I don't think it's crazy to say. I don't think it's crazy to question if the Ravens will ever get a ring in this era. I think it's crazy to say that they're not going to, because, I mean, if we're lucky, probably get, with how quarterbacks are playing now, probably get 10 more years of Lamar.
I think what makes it so hard is that we kind of went over this, but what makes these losses so hard is it's like, what do we need? What is the missing piece?
Just don't turn the ball over. There's like no roster
construction. You have the best roster in the league. I mean, you could literally argue that, and you choke every year. It's like there's not like a, you know, lo and behold, like, okay, you need this. Like, you have everything you need, man. You have a good defense. You have one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best running backs, a good coach, a good old, like, there's nothing that this team needs. They just get in their way every time, and it's so devastating. Because it's like, okay, next year, if and when we get to the divisional round, like, how confident are we going to be that we don't, you know, to bed and turn the ball over? Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have it in the back of my mind knowing that I don't know how confident I am about this game, no matter who we're playing, because every single year it's the same stuff. It's kind of hard to defend at this point. It's really getting difficult to kind of be a Ravens fan and defend it and see the optimism, because it's a pattern that's happened for a long time now. And it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Someone commented about the Lamar narratives. I think someone's talking about HJJ Maker commented, I know people ain't blaming Lamar for Andrews. I mean, there's just so many fingers that can be pointed even after, right? You'd say that where is there someone to blame? After all of the kind of talk, you'd think like an organization change has to be made, or you'd think that something ridiculous has to happen in order for a team to really be shaken up so you stop choking in these situations. The issue is nothing's going to change like that. There's not going to be the big roster move. There's not going to be the big coaching change unless we really want to get bold, I guess. But I think that the narratives really with Lamar, you guys were talking about it too, that we're going to hear about this for the rest of eternity unless Lamar somehow goes to a Super Bowl and wins it. We're going to hear all that talk, and it's one thing to let it get to you, but it's another thing to also see, are they kind of right? Is there really a point where we get over choking in the playoffs? We had a Q&A, right? Like earlier this year where we talked about specifically, do we think that Lamar and this team will choke in the playoffs? And we told you exactly what, right? As Ravens fans, we can fully give you the blueprint of a screwed up game that we would lose in the playoffs right now with Lamar under helm. And the point being, it just keeps happening. It just happens like this, and it's hard to decide what's next. Everyone commenting, what do you do with Harbaugh? What do you do with Andrews? What do you do with Lamar? Get rid of Lamar. Lamar, everything. And I wish we had a firm answer, right? I think Dawson talked about it, that there's not really a obvious roster move to fix, right? I love Derrick Henry, but you're running out of gas with Derrick Henry in his playing career. He's 32. I mean, had one of the best years of his career, but
30.
He's still, 30. You're still looking at all these factors, trying to decide how we can finally make the Super Bowl and win it with Lamar. And it's an amazing question. It's sadly going to be talked about forever. I remember L. Duncan on ESPN talked about whichever quarterback loses this game is going to be labeled as a loser. And sadly, it's going to dwindle down to that when it comes to Lamar, even given 3 MVPs, even given his record in the regular season, because he can't get it done in the playoffs. I wouldn't say he couldn't get it done in the playoffs today, but they sure did everything they could, and I can hang my hat on the fact that I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of finishing the game as great as you did today, and saying that next year we can wait 12 months if it meant that it would end the way that we hope it does.
It's a good point. It just gets annoying, trying to every year say, oh, we'll get him next year, oh, well, we got it. It gets annoying after a point, because it's like, 2 years ago we said it, last year we said it, 4 years ago we said it. It's like, when is the year, man? When? I don't want to say you're running out of time. Like, we're not running out of time, because I think Lamar still has a very long career ahead of him. But like you said, the window with Derrick Henry's closing, and this is probably your best, if not easily one of the best opportunities you have of his career, to get it done. So it's just like, gets tiresome, dude. It's like, when is the year?
And I'm going to say something here that I know is going to fire up some of these people in the comments. We're looking at a great roster that we're mostly keeping, a fantastic coach, 3-time MVP quarterback, almost 2K rushing running back. And we're saying, we'll see you next year. There's 26, 28 other teams that are also saying that maybe about like 24 of them with rosters that are unable to do it. I know some people are like talking about, the Cowboys, the Steelers, those teams are, no hate towards them. This is just, me venting a little bit. Steelers are the 9-8 every single time, and they are not improving. I mean, they stay the way they are. The Ravens are constantly improving on what they are. They constantly have a quarterback who's improving after MVP level seasons. We just have to dial back on those turnovers. We have to play discipline.
The only issue.
No,
It's
I
incredible.
think we can all agree on that. I think we can all expect to be back here next year, but it's like, how are we expected to have different feelings on the outcome? Like, I'm telling you right now, and you can fact check me 12 months from now. I'm going to feel very nervous for the playoff games next year because I'm going to, in the back of my mind, expect that the Ravens might crap their pants and lose it the exact way they did tonight. I'm telling you right now, my feelings are getting a little uneasy with this continuation of just shooting yourselves in the foot. It's like, how are we expected to feel different? Like, we could be in the AFC Championship next year. We could go on a run and beat up in the wild card, beat up in the divisional, and then here we are at Arrowhead, or who knows, in the AFC Championship. And back of my mind, I would be happy with the chance to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm going to expect, the Ravens to potentially come out here and just blow it up.
It's kind of funny. A comment from Chris, Bills fan. Bills fan here, good game. Ravens was down to the wire. Ravens lost like the Bills have lost so many times. It hurts, I know, but Lamar's great. And like, this is what I'm saying. Like, the Bills had this issue for the past 4-5 years. We'll see what happens next week, but like, they played great today in terms of taking care of the football. And we've talked about that, how the Chiefs are the team that doesn't mess up in a playoff game. And like, I think that was the Ravens' goal. And obviously was the Bills' goal as well. Josh Allen was today, Josh Allen was 16 for 22, 127 passing yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 10 carries for 20 yards. I mean, in terms of production, not a great. This is almost the exact type of game Mahomes had. The AFC champ. I mean, Mahomes did have 2 touchdowns, I think, but just protecting the ball, you win in the playoffs. Like, and that's why we talk about roster construction. Ravens have 3 turnovers, Bills have 0. I think if both teams have 0 turnovers, Ravens probably win easily, maybe in this one. Like, there's nothing to change. There's nothing to change. They're going to be here next year.
We literally have to just run it back with the exact same team and roster.
Yeah.
And hope we don't turn the ball over. That's all it is. There's no big looming, are we going to sign them or are we going to let them go or anything this offseason? Like, we're probably going to have the exact same coaching staff. I don't think Todd Monken's going to leave. You're going to have more experience under Zach Orr. And then Harbaugh, of course, we know that story. We're going to see the exact same team. Like, and then plus whoever we draft, and if we go out and trade for somebody or get a big ticket free agent, I don't know, probably not. Just because we know the financial situation there. So I don't know. I don't know how we're expected to see a difference, but we'll be here next year. I can guarantee that, and that's all I really got to say.
Just to continue this beautiful trend that we're seeing right now. From the beginning of the year, I said it at the beginning, right? Mark Andrews kind of started off crappy. He fixes that. Penalties, issue. We fix those. Tucker, missing, really scaring us every time. He was fantastic tonight. Turnovers, seem to be, if we go all the way back to the AFC Championship last year, you could say that a big note for this offense was handling turnovers. This whole year, Lamar has 4 picks, right? I mean, there's so many levels of, wow, they really did correct everything. And to once again choke it off in the playoffs, to do it again, it's heartbreaking, guys. I mean, we can sit here and vent. It felt good to vent for as long as we have so far. But I mean, there is nothing we can do. There's nothing Ravens can do to take a next step, unless they're about to go all in for like a Super Bowl run, like the Rams did, and then screw their franchise, that type of stuff. It's going to be a crazy offseason, I'll tell you that much. I'm not ending this by any means, but I'm just saying that there's a lot to look forward to, I'm sure.
I mean, to at least talk about some of the game that doesn't have to do with turnovers. Really sucks to not score a touchdown on the long play to Bateman in the first half. I think he was down at the 2. Henry got stuffed. Ravens run, play action. I will say that's one of Lamar's other few bad plays, not throwing that ball away. Got sacked at the 8 and couldn't find the end zone there. The other moment that sticks out to me is Ravens score first. Bills have a 3rd and 8. Ravens come out. I believe it was Tampa 2. And I think Stevens is that middle guy. And Shakir's beat him down the field. Those are 2 plays that stick out to me. I think, if you don't turn the ball over, get a stop on that 3rd and 8, score off after that long Bateman play, you're winning by 14. So, obviously, that's kind of asking for a perfect game, but the Bills kind of played perfect. They didn't have any turnovers. James Cook had a pretty good game. Really patient in the backfield. I think was it Nance that mentioned Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah.
James Cook, what a player. So many runs where it's kind of designed to be either A gap, B gap run, bounces outside, 8-10 yards. Still only averaged 3.9 yards a carry because the Ravens did such a good job for the most part in the second half. But I don't know. I know there's a conversation about penalties. Obviously, we're not going to make that our excuse. That's something else that played a role. Obviously, just talking about the game. I think there's a few penalties that went the Ravens' way as well. That holding on the Bills early. I don't know. So excluding turnovers, those are kind of my only thoughts in terms of what the Ravens did not do well.
Yeah, everyone's going to also look at the amount of runs for Derrick Henry, and I think 16 is not the worst in the world, but it's definitely not the best. These are the games that you brought him over to Baltimore for, and this is the reason, that he's on this team. And tonight, you didn't really get to see him going at all. In the second half, you did, of course, day late, dollar short. So it just kind of sucks because this is, the game that you really expected him to show out and be used heavily. I was expecting 25 carries minimum, and you can't really do anything when you put yourself against the wall early and often. I get the game plan has to transition once you're down. You can't just keep running the ball. But still, it's, I think, not poor play calling, but I just think that was a wasted effort there,
Super chat from Griffin. Appreciate it, Griffin, for the support. Turnovers killed us. Sucks Lamar will still be called a choker. And yeah, he probably will.
Absolutely
probably will. I think Allen would have been called a choker if he lost this game.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin Herbert's probably going to be called a choker. Everyone who doesn't win in the playoffs, probably the narrative.
My next thing I wanted to talk about was kind of bouncing off that. The narrative of choker of really every single quarterback in the NFL besides, a few NFC guys that somehow get a pass, and Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I don't know about you guys, personally, but I'm pretty sick of that narrative just in general. We're pretty darn sick of it as Lamar Jackson and Ravens fans, but I wouldn't be opposed if Josh Allen beat the Chiefs and had a shot at a Super Bowl. I think that's, almost a hot take to say, given really the butting of heads all year of Ravens and Bills constantly talking about the MVP conversation. But I don't think it's ridiculous to say, as Ravens fans, let's see someone, make one through the hoop, right? It's just someone, because no one really is. And
give us some hope for the future.
Yeah. Right. And you don't necessarily want it to be Burrow again because he's a divisional guy. But even then, I think it'd be hard to say, yeah, Chiefs, do it again. Do it again, man. I mean, it's hard to watch over and over again. I would rather see the Bills do it again. I think what they're doing right now is pretty special.
I think go ahead, Dawson.
No, I got nothing to say.
I think the Eagles are really good. I feel like they probably gonna get Eagles probably gonna be in the Super Bowl. I honestly think Bills Chiefs probably 50-50 next week. So we'll see about that. I mean, this game just comes down to it's not even about game plan or anything. It's just Bills played more sound. I do think there's a little bit of a weather component in the first half. I don't think weather played a part in the second half, but I think, Romo was mentioning the Ravens are used to this at least a little bit. I can't remember the last time Ravens played in the snow. I think the Bills are a little more used to that weather, not the temperature. I'm talking about purely like the snow. Saw the Eagles and Rams today. Rams coached by Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. They fumbled twice today in the snow against Philadelphia team who plays in the snow all the time.
And they were a team that – sorry, Brad. They were a team that didn't necessarily play a great game either, the Eagles. The only reason that they won that game was because of those 2 turnovers, really setting them up and getting them big plays. So we can kind of feel for them, I guess.
Yeah. Just like the Rams, coached by Sean McVay. Still, they also dealt with turnovers being the reason they lost. Super chat from Olson. Mike Tomlin on Hard Knocks called out what we do. He mentioned we give the other team the ball up at least once. Lamar slander, just unfortunate. And this is true. The Ravens got over the hump against the Steelers this year, not turning the ball over in that wild card game. And I mean, I'm not going to keep saying it, but Ravens win today without a turnover.
You're 100% right, Brad. I agree.
You guys have any other thoughts?
Not really. You're still trying to process that this actually happened, I guess,
Yeah.
We'll dive a little more into it, I'm sure, after some time to process this. Because we're hot off the press right now.
Yeah.
I'll end it with just the fact that I'm proud of us 3 doing a great job of just really having a podcast all year. I'm so thankful for all of you guys watching. All 3 of us are super thankful for all you guys getting us to a point where you can support us. It's been a fantastic year. I'm sure Brad was probably about to say it, but I don't really know when the next pod will be. I mean, it's kind of sad to think about. We were bummed out just thinking about that as well after a pod one time. We were just like, what if we do lose? Whoa. It's funny because, given a whole season of it, it's been special. It's been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and all love. Hope we're back here next year. It's just going to take a long time, right?
Yeah. Appreciate you guys for the support so much. This was our first full season doing this pod. I mean, we started. What was our first game last year? Was it the Jags Sunday night game, something like that? So we started late last year. You guys helped us get to over 600 subs. We had I think 130 people in here at one point, maybe 150. I think I saw tonight. So that's pretty cool as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks guys for the support this season. We didn't do a great job last offseason, I would say. We'll be more consistent. We'll be here all off season with you guys. We're not gonna go hide away until August. So
for sure.
Comment from Fry Reviews. We do plan on doing this, a draft day live. So maybe we'll be live for 3 hours on that Thursday night. I think it'll be pretty fun. We'll probably try to plan a little bit more around that once it gets there. But yeah,
I will say we definitely. I mean, I'm gonna just go over basically what you guys said. Obviously, in my end too, we appreciate all the support. You guys have been awesome. We've really enjoyed doing this podcast, and we hope we can even go further with it. This is just the beginning. It's been a great season for our Ravens. Unfortunately, cut short, but this is a season that you will always look back on. We'll always appreciate that we were there to see the regular season. But we're gonna have a lot of cool off-season content this year with the free agency and the draft. So and who knows, maybe the Ravens make a big move this offseason, and we obviously make a podcast covering that. But we don't know exactly when the next one's going to be. It's not going to be like a super long break. We're not going to go like AFK for like months, but we don't know exactly yet the plan. But once we figure it out, we're definitely, and once the off season, of course, picks up again, around March or whatever it is for free agency, it's going to be sweet. We're going to make some cool content for that. It'll be exciting to see.
yeah, for sure. Once again, thanks to everyone in the chat tonight for being here. Love the support. If you watched on Instagram tonight, as always, feel free to head on over to Charm City Sideline on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed. Everyone here on YouTube right now, feel free to like the video. Helps us out a lot. I think that's about all. So, heck of a season from the Ravens. And we will see you guys. We'll see you guys soon. So, thanks everyone, guys. We'll see you later.